Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be entitled Gallows Humor and the Name Game. And by that I mean name the names. So we're going to start out with a few lawyer jokes because, of course, everybody knows how much I despise attorneys, especially attorneys, members of the bar, barristers that speak in open court to the magistrate, to the judge, to the satanic black robe wearing, Masonic flag cloaking clown, like Huey Cotton, like Stanley Weisberg, like Judge Charles Older, presiding over the Charles Manson murder trial, clowns like that. Clowns like that. Stanley Weisberg presided over three clown trials: the McMartin School children molestation case in Manhattan Beach. He presided over the Rodney King beating, which was videotaped, and they couldn't get a conviction. And then the four mistrials of the Lyle and Eric Menendez regarding killing their father. They had four mistrials before they got rid of the cameras in the courtrooms, and all of a sudden witnesses remembered things they had forgotten 3 years earlier, and they got two convictions of Lyle Menendez of Princeton University. That implicates Princeton, and his younger brother, Eric, who went to Calabasas High School but did his last senior year at Beverly Hills High School. So that implicates both the San Fernando Valley Calabasas High School and the Calabasas Tennis Club. And it implicates, of course, Beverly Hills High School. Anyway, those were all done by magistrates who were clowns who railroaded innocent people because the Menendez boys did not kill their parents. A blind man could see that. But anyway, what else can you talk about? So it's Gallows Humor's Day, and we're going to review some lawyer jokes which are applicable to PhD Nobel laureates and people who call themselves chancellors of biomedicine at UC Berkeley. So think in terms of professors of the Department of Energy, people that work for the RAND Corporation, people that work at Lockheed, Raytheon Missile Guidance, Bell Nokia Labs, Apple Computer, Book, Metro Labs, Google, YouTube, Clown Show, uh, freaks at IBM, JP Morgan, Chase, Jamie Dimon, Jane Fraser at Citigroup, and Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, the clowns that work at Merrill Lynch and the clowns that work at Bank of America. Except they're not funny. They're unfunny clowns. All right. How do you know when your lawyer is lying to you? How do you know? And the answer is when their lips are moving, when they're flapping their lips, they're lying. What do you call 500 lawyers drowned at the bottom of the ocean? What do you call that? 500 drowned lawyers at the bottom of the ocean. That's a good first start. That's what that is, the good first start. What's the difference between a lawyer and a herd of buffalo? And the answer is that the lawyer invoices you and charges more. They charge more than a buffalo. All right. How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is none. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. What's the lawyer's favorite drink at the bar? Subpoena colada. All right. I object, you say. You object to my humor? All right. Fine. Let me transition to some non-lawyers. I mean, it's easy to pick on lawyers because Lord knows they deserve it, right? They totally deserve it. So there's two types of characters in my videos. There's the type that appear on television and podcasts, like Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Stupider Peters, stupider because viewers of Stu Peters are stupid themselves. You can't be any dumber than a Stu Peters disciple or a Tucker Carlson disciple. I mean, you really are, um, dumber than a box of rocks if you follow Tucker Carlson, okay, and all his guests. which would include Oliver Silverstein Stone, right? Brett Weinstein, Eric Weinstein, Peter Thiel. It's the same guests that appear, on Joe Rogan, Tom O'Neill, Chaos. Got his fake book right here for you. There's a COINTELPRO book. COINTELPRO book. Look at how he entitles it. Of course, he doesn't. Tom doesn't. It's a CIA book. Chaos, Charles Manson, the CIA, and the CIA in the 19. Except Tom O'Neill didn't interview a single witness who knows anything about Operation Chaos. He interviewed operatives, mostly for Hollywood. He spent the most time with Vincent Bugliosi, a man that knows less than nothing about the Manson trial. Vincent Bugliosi got donuts. The only thing he did is he made the closing remarks at the murder trial when they pulled Aaron Stovich off the case under mysterious circumstances to exit stage left. Tom O'Neill never interviewed Lino LaBianca's sisters, his two older sisters, nor did he interview the brother-in-laws, Peter DeSantis, Peter Smaldino. He did not interview the chief financial officer and controller of Gateway Market, Roy Norwood. He doesn't even know who Roy Norwood is. He didn't interview Abigail Folger's brother, Peter, nor did he interview her mother whilst she was alive, Eunice Mejia. She lived till 100. Tom O'Neill had ample opportunities to interview her. He did not. He claims he interviewed two people from the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic. The most important person is Eunice Mejia, who he did not interview. He interviewed the unimportant people there, who was the PhD director of the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, who was a PhD from UC San Francisco. He interviewed him, and then he interviewed a probation officer slash that parole officer for the state of California. No, scratch that. Parole officer for the federal government who had a temporary office there at Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic. But to think that he didn't interview the single most important person there shows you the fraud that Tom O'Neill is. Complete fraud to forget to interview Eunice Mejia, who's 10,000 times more important than anyone he ever spoke to. He didn't interview Hunter S. Thompson. He didn't interview Sonny Barger, who was alive during the time he was doing his 20 years of fake research. Tom O'Neill is a gay waiter from West Hollywood. He doesn't know anything whatsoever to do about COINTELPRO, which is counterintelligence, because Tom O'Neill himself is intelligence. He's to be ignored. Just like Lawrence Schiller, just like Oliver Silverstein Stone, and just like his son, Sean Silverstein Stone, who graduated from Princeton. Like Lyle Menendez was going to do before they convicted him of murdering his mother and father. He would have been on the Sean Stone podcast had it not been for an unlawful conviction supervised by Stanley Weisberg. All right. So let me just say this about that. There's the clowns that we know that are promoted. Like I said, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Stupider Peters, born on April Fool's Day, 1980, tattoos all over his arms, um, flak jacket, um, mysterious, justifiable homicide in his background, wife beating slash domestic violence charges in the state of Florida, Stupider Peters. Okay? There's those people, and there's people like Ron DeSantis, the fake governor of Florida. He's a United States Navy intelligence officer from Judge Advocate School, Harvard Law, and Yale. He's a clown. Donald Trump, Trumpster, he's one of the biggest clowns. Donald Trumpster, completely oblivious, just like Joe Biden was, Donald Trumpster is. In other words, probably takes his meals from a straw, doesn't know what day it is, and has no actual authority. Pope Leo, Pope Leo of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, a complete pimp for Geneva, Switzerland, and the Agenda 2030, clueless as to how the AI works. He wants to get rid of the AI, but not the infrastructure that the AI runs on. That shows you the lack of intelligence of Pope Leo from Chicago, Illinois. Anyway, then we have the moron Catholic Church. Joseph Smith, LDS Mormon Church. Just a version of the Church of Scientology with a philandering founder, right? Dallas H. Oakes, president of the Quorum of 12, to be ignored. Henry B. Eyring, D. Todd Christopherso, the LDS Mormon Geneva Government Global Governance, Geneva Global Governance, LDS Church, Mission Global Ministry. That's what the Mormon Church's mission is: to face mask, to get vaccinated, and to envelop the world with LDS philandering by Young and Joseph Smith. And forget about Jesus Christ, because he's old hat, right? You know, that's the mission of the Church of Scientology. That's the mission of Pope Leo and the obelisk in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican City State in Rome, Italy, right? So Pope Leo should be ignored, but so too should any Mormon missionary who appears at your front door. Call the sheriff immediately and have them arrested for stalking you. All right, because that's what Mormons do. I know they came over to my home and ate all our cookies in the cookie drawer. Once they knew where the cookie drawer was, you couldn't keep a Mormon out of our kitchen because their parents would lock them out of the house till 6:30 at night, and then they come over to my house and steal our food, including food out of the refrigerator, including money in my bedroom um, on my shelf where I kept my quarters. They would steal my tips from my paper route. Mormons did. Plural, more than one Mormon. All right. So there's a lot of thieves in the LDS Mormon Church. All right. Then we have David Miscavige. He's the chairman of the board of Church of Scientology. Joel Osteen. He's in charge of the Lakewood Church there in Houston, Texas way. Right. We have the pseudo governors, Ron DeSantis, Gavin Newsom of California, Greg Abbott of the great Lone Star State of Texas, Greg Abbott, pentagram star of Texas, right? We have Nancy Pelosi and her drunkard husband, the private banker, whose career was started when Abigail Folger was murdered, right? Paul Pelosi just destroyed his Maserati, and then 4 years ago he destroyed his Porsche Carrera sport model, high performance. That's a $270,000 car he totaled, and the Maserati's 300 grand. It's a cabriolet, so he can breathe in all the aluminum chalk that's being sprayed over Napa Valley, which there is a considerable amount of chalk over the Sonoma and Napa County valleys. So you want probably not want to drink any wine from Napa and Sonoma County because it's loaded with chalk and plastic and arsenic poison because all the grapes are full of pollution. Yes. So is the rice. So are the apricots. So are the Victor Davis Hanson raisin farm on Highway 99 in Selma. That's all full of aluminum chalk too. So don't buy any raisins from Dr. Victor Davis Hanson of the Hoover Institute, Stanford University. Do get yourself a coffee cup and become also a paid member of my channel. All right. So we have Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. He's a fraud, right? Rand Paul of Tennessee. He's a fraud. Ron Johnson. I don't know. Where's he from? Wisconsin. He's a fraud. Remember, who's going to look into vaccine injuries? Noam Chomsky from where's he from? He's going to a research university in Arizona now, but formerly of MIT and his gobbledygook applied linguistics status. Noam Chomsky, his name is Avron Noam Chomsky. He's a fraud. He's a complete fraud, just like Harvard's um, Daniel Ellsberg, the fraud from Harvard, Henry Kissinger, the fraud from Harvard, the Jewish frauds from Harvard, the two frauds from Harvard, Henry Kissinger and Daniel Ellsberg, both fake, phony clowns. Now, they're both dead, so we don't have to talk about them anymore. Oliver Silverstein Stone of Yale, but graduated from New York University in film, I believe. So you should ignore Oliver Silverstein, just like you should ignore Tom O'Neill, right? And another COINTELPRO book, and Oliver Silverstein, he does COINTEL movies, is Jim Marrs and Crossfire, the plot that killed John Kennedy. This is a COINTELPRO book. He doesn't talk about the obelisk in Dealey Plaza. He doesn't talk about George Dealey. He doesn't talk about the railroad trestle over Main Street where the three shooters were, two whom pulled the trigger. Two out of three shooters shot. In other words, they had backup shooters that they did not use. Now, were there other shooters in and around Dealey Plaza? Sure, absolutely, to create diversion. The shooters had silencer suppressors on their rifles, so no one heard a whisper of the shots that came from the railroad trestle. And then all the other rifles from the picket fence, grassy knoll area, or the roof of the Daltex building, or the roof of the records, Dallas County Records building, criminal courthouse, and the book depository building, they made noise, smoke in the air. That's to create distraction, diversion, right? That's Machiavellianism. Niccolo di Bernardo de Machiavelli. Mach, Machiavelli. Machiavelli. Niccolo di Bernardo de Machiavelli. That's to create the art of war. He wrote a book published in 1513, entitled The Prince. And it's about diversion, distraction, the art of war. It's about bamboozling you. It's about having you believe things that you read by Mars, Jim Mars, and Tom O'Neill. This is to waste your time. It's like watching porn or going to the opera. Going to the opera, going to the symphony is like watching porn. In other words, you're going to invest several hours of your time, if not more, going in circles and not understanding that Geneva Global Governance rules your world. And you have no nation and you have no constitution, and voting is a cult ritual. They want you to vote. They don't care who you vote for because the elections are rigged, right? They're rigged. They're rigged in every country. They're because the countries are Hunger Games, and in Hunger Game districts, we do not actually have legitimate elections, right? But we do have pseudo fake elections to create the Machiavelli concept that you have a representation in your government, which you do not. You have no representation. Did anyone ever ask you? Did anyone ever ask you about installing smart meters in your home or in your neighborhood? Does your neighbor ask for permission to install a ring camera? Does the city works ask for permission to install LED street lights across the street from your porch or in front of your sidewalk? No, they just do it. Did they ask permission to dump aluminum chalk over your town? No, they just do it, right? They just do it because you don't live in a democracy. You live in a penitentiary. You're in a prison, but you think you're free. All right. So I've named a bunch of names that you've probably heard of: Donald Trump, Pope Leo, the Quorum of 12 at the LDS Mormon Church, the Church of Scientology, David Miscavige, the Lakewood Church President Joel Olstein, um, Rand Paul, Ron Paul, Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Barbara Boxer, clown, 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 clown. None of them have any authority. They're all to be ignored. Those are counterintelligence clowns to waste your time. Okay, but then I'm going to name some names that you may not be familiar with unless you're a paid member of my channel. All right, let's just the Queen of Mean is going to be Jennifer Doudna, Jennifer Ann Doudna. She's going to be the Queen of Mean. She was born in February 1964. She has been awarded a Nobel Prize in chemistry for Frankenstein monstering CRISPR gene editing human beings. It's called gene slicing and dicing, gene splicing, also known as gene editing, also known as human augmentation. Human augmentation. They gave this wicked witch of the West, they gave her a prize to disable human beings' tenets of thinking and to modify their natural body aura to destroy it. And she's associated with the Howard Hughes Medical Institute since 1997. She is also credited as founding the Innovative Genomic Institute, which is run by her second husband, who is now the director, Jamie Cate, Cate, Jamie Cate. They're residents of the city of Berkeley. They live over by the Claremont Hotel. It's not hard to find their home. Um, anyway, she's a Nobel Peace recipient, Nobel Peace Laureate. She has been given the title bestowed upon her by the Regents of California, University of California, and she is known as the Chancellor of Biosciences. So she's going to be the Queen of Mean. She hatched a mini-me version of herself in the form of Rachel Horowitz, who is now the CEO of Caribou Biosciences, which is also in the city of Berkeley, but is about a couple miles away from the Innovative Genomic Institute and the Doudna Lab, located at 2151 Berkeley Way, 1 block to the south of Phoebehurst Avenue, in case you're interested. She's 1 block from the Chancellor's Mansion, and she's 2 blocks from Corey Hall, where Ted Kaczynski mailed 2 Unabombs to the 4th floor there, where they created smart desks. So the next Wicked Witch of the West, after Jennifer Ann Doudna and Rachel Horowitz, who's I think 40 years old, who claims to be a marathon runner out there sucking in all this aluminum chalk while she runs in the near Til, is Joy Weiss. She was the president of Dust Networks, along with Christopher Pitzer, who's a PhD from Berkeley, who was the chief technology officer, CTO. Anyway, they've been absorbed by Analog Devices in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So Dust Networks is no more. It is now replaced by the corporate entity of Analog Devices in Cambridge. But they rolled out Smart Dust 10 years ago at Berkeley and in Hayward, California at Dust Networks, next door to Coast Aluminum and Dinovax, a COVID manufacturer, and then Polyfoam USA, or American Polyfoam. Isn't that interesting that COVID vaccination goes with aluminum dust and plastic foam? Do you think that's what's in the vaccines? You know, like the bird flu vaccine, like the Omicron variant booster shot, like the COVID shot, like the coronavirus, which didn't have a vaccine? You mean like the stuff they dump out of the planes? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure they have different recipes for COVID, and I'm sure they have different recipes of pollution to dump over your sky. Operation Sea Spray's been around since like 1952. So they've been dumping stuff on cities in America, in the United States, Hunger Game, for decades. Before Jennifer Ann Doudna was born, the United States Navy and Army were dumping pollution out of planes and on tugboats and fireboats, using the hoses to spray the pollution into the fog so no one would notice that it's toxic fog, right? Toxic fog, like toxic shock syndrome. Does this sound grim and ironic to you? This is Gallows humor. I'm engaging in Gallows humor. I know it seems that it is a hopeless situation, but if you know these names, let me repeat: Jennifer Doudna, Jamie Cate, Rachel Horowitz, Emanuela Carpentier, who is a cohort, who also is a beneficiary recipient of the Nobel Prize, Cas9. Those are all words that paid members of my channel know. Cas9, gene editing, human augmentation, neuromodulation, molecular engineering of humans, tethering people to the cloud 24/7. Then we have, switch gears a little bit here, United Healthcare, that runs 70% of all the Medicare payments to doctors and hospitals. That's run by Stephen J. Helmsley. Stephen J. Hemsley. spelled Hemsley. He's the boss over there, and he used to be the chief financial officer of Arthur Andersen CPAs. Remember that blew up when Enron blew up? Well, he bailed out just before the Enron collapse, and he went over to become the CEO of United Healthcare. So he's a corrupt CPA who is now a corrupt chairman of the board of the socialized medicine program in the United States called Medicare, right? And his right hand man was Sir Andrew Whitty of England, who was knighted by the Queen, Sir Andrew Whitty. And he also works for GlaxoSmithKline. He also works for the World Health Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. And he was the CEO of United Healthcare under Stephen J. Helmsley, chairman of the board. Anyway, he's taking a sabbatical because he's got an insider trading lawsuit going on right now, so he's taking a little break. But he's a COVID pimp, and so is Stephen Helmsley. And then we had Brian Thompson, who was gunned down before he delivered the opening speech at the shareholder meeting in Manhattan at the Hilton Hotel. He got killed on the sidewalk outside the food delivery entrance. I think it was on 54th Street. Anyway, he's been replaced by Tim Knoll, and there we go. So then we also have other people involved with gene editing, or Fang Sheng, spelled Zhang. He's from MIT. He's involved with human augmentation. We have Jillian Fiona Banfield, also involved with human augmentation. Sidney Altman, Thomas Robert Ketch, all involved with gene editing and cellular injury of humans. They'll tell you it's about precision medicine. It's tell you about curing cancer, when the reality is it's about tethering to the cloud 24/7 like a farm animal, GPS, trace, track, and targeting all humans on the planet Earth. That's what CRISPR Therapeutics is about. That's what CRISPR Cas9 is about. It's about disabling humans' tenets of thinking. Got it? All right. Then in banking, we have Dean Jacobson, who graduated from Harvard and then got an MBA from Stanford, and his cohort, J.J. Cardwell, who graduated from Stanford but got an MBA from Harvard. So they're clowns. Men to see Erin Valente alive before she ended up dead in the back of a SUV Nissan Murano at age 33. And those clowns have yet to be brought in for questioning by the police or the sheriff. And there are 5 jurisdictions of detectives that could interview Dean Jacobson and J.J. Cardwell of Stanford and Harvard. They are private bankers on Sand Hill Road and Menlo Park. Jim Breyer, Breyer Capital, he was the doing the job at Excel KKR before he was replaced by Dean Jacobson. Jim Breyer took his marbles and moved out to Austin, Texas, where his wife, Angela Chow, who has an MBA from Harvard, as does Jim Breyer, he has an MBA from Harvard. His wife ends up drowned in a Tesla car in an irrigation ditch on a 900-acre ranch in Johnson City, Texas, which is named after LBJ, right? Lyndon Baines Johnson, Johnson City. Well, Johnson's ranch, I think, is 2,700 acres, something like that, 999. And the ranch that Jim Breyer's LLC partnership out of Chicago owns is about a 900-acre ranch size. And Angela Chow, whose father's a communist, who created a pork facility container company in Long Island, New York, just before the Vietnam War began. Angela Chow's father was a communist businessman in New York and Long Island. They lived in Long Island. I don't know where their office was for the container company, but probably somewhere in the port area of New York. All right. And then she's dead, right? She's trying to escape, but you can't get out of an electric car. The door's locked and you're going to drown. So she's frantically making calls with her cell phone. Does that sound like Gallows humor? Joe Breyer has never commented publicly how his wife died while he's watching the Super Bowl on television. She's out drowning in the pond. Basically, that's what happened. Uh, Joe LeCobe, he's managing director of Kleiner Perkins. That's no good. Peter Gruber his cohort. And we got Peter Thiel and his gay lover, Jay Thomas. And he also has a gay wife husband. Got a video posted on that today on my website. We have those are the bankers, along with Sam Altman, Ben Horowitz, Doug Leone, managing director of Sequoia Capital. He sponsored Samuel Bankman-Fried, French Fried, right? That's he also helped create Apple Computer, Genentech, Cisco Systems, and LSI Logic, and Sun Microsystems. So it's not like he laid an egg on Sam Bankman-Fried. Do know that Doug Leone picks the chief financial officer and the president of all the startups. So FTX was created by a Sand Hill Road banker. So if when it fails, just blame Sand Hill Road. They normally hit grand slam home runs, but occasionally they throw somebody under the bus, like they did with Samuel Bankman French Fried, who grew up on the Stanford University but attended MIT for a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. All right, so those are some names that you may not know. Laureen Howell Jobs, she is the widow of Steve Jobs. She's working with Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz to build a prison camp called California Forever, 40 miles from this studio that I'm broadcasting from. And it's borders Travis NATO base on 3 of 4 sides. They're building a ginormous camp, somewhere to the size of 50,000 acres of land. Travis Air Base is about 10,000 acres, and they're adding 4 times that for the city, where they're going to stick 1 million prisoners in there. Like the Roach Motel, guests check in, but they don't check out of California forever. It means forever till you're dead. All right. So that's my name game today. That's my gallows humor today. Is that the joke about what do you call 500 drowned lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? It's a good first start. The names that I mentioned, if they somehow could be removed from our society and transported to the moon or to Mars or some faraway location, um, the world would be a better place. It would be a safer place. It'd be a more humane place. Those people are completely disconnected from humanity. They they're not a friend of humanity. You can throw Paul Pelosi in there at the top of the pile too, because he's driving around at age 86, mostly drunk driving, like Scott Erickson. Not a single great judge who will take the license away from Paul Pelosi or Scott Erickson, who have a tremendous propensity to drive drunk and to crash into people and things and barely miss children in crosswalks. So that's the world in which you live. It's a Hunger Game, and those privileged people are allowed to break the law. They're exempt from the law. They have obelisks on their driveway, and they obey a chain of command. They live in gilded cages themselves, but I want them removed. There's approximately 10,000 people on the planet Earth that need to be removed from the planet Earth in order to save the Earth from Geneva global governance, which expresses itself through the private bankers like BlackRock, Blackstone, Larry Ratfink, Steven Schwartzman, Thomas Leibowitz, Ben Horowitz, Mark Andreessen, uh, Lorraine Howell Jobs, J.J. Cardwell, Dean Jacobson, Joe LeCoe, Peter Guber, Doug Leone, J.P. Morgan, Chase, Jamie Dimon, Jane Fraser, the clowns in the clown show. All right. I believe me, I know hundreds of other names I'm not going to mention at this time because the video will be too long. So please like and share my videos. You can buy one of these cups from me through my P.O. box. Uh, and but I'd also like you to become a paid member, but it's not required. You can buy this cup and get educated with my free content. Most of my content is behind a paywall. So if you want the full library, which is over almost 1,800 videos at Substack, you'll need to become a paid member. It's a mere $30 a month, and you can watch as many videos as you want. That's 20 cents a video. It's 20 cents a video to watch my paid content. It should be $300 a month. It should be 4 grand a year. It should pay 4 grand a year to me to be a student of my channel. So if you get on for 30 bucks a month, you're getting a 90% discount from what the market value is. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll talk soon, right? Bye bye.